All right, people, today we have just a lot of Switch 2 nonsense to talk about. We have a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation and discussion going on in the community right now about when this console will be revealed, obviously, as we do here. But there's a lot of people that think it might be announced in December. There's a lot of people that think it might be announced at the Game Awards. There's a lot of people that think it might be announced in January and released in March. There's rumors about it releasing in March now, more substantial rumors than I guess we've had in the past, but either way, it's a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I've really talked about the release timing of this console. However, there were a couple of small rumors over the past couple of days that I feel like are getting a little bit more attention than they probably should, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of take a look at them and see what is going on and kind of give my opinions on them, whether or not these should be believed or if we should just kind of ignore these particular rumors. So first up, we have this post from Nimpagos on Fami Boards saying, "Hello, I have some information coming from a source that has been correct about every information since 2020. They have leaked the Nintendo Switch OLED model, Mario & Luigi Brothership, the August Indie World and Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase and its contents, and more. Here's the information regarding Ounce. Ounce will announce in January 2025 and release in March. Pokemon Home will be on Ounce, but it will have a different host and developer instead of Grand Oak in the Nintendo Switch version. Here's the code to see who the character is, and will be a hint to the next Pokemon main series game after Gaia and its DLCs. And then they had this big string of numbers here that, when decoded, means I love your style of Pokemon battling. Somehow your Pokemon look like they're having so much fun, which is actually a quote from Bianca from Pokemon Black and White. So they're saying that Bianca will be the kind of host of Pokemon Home on the Switch 2 version, but also I guess they're hinting at a Black and White remake here after Generation 10 releases. So this is the first thing I'm going to talk about today. I don't believe this. I think, you know, it's possible, right? It's possible that they announced it in January and release it in March, as we will talk about in today's video. However, I'm always open to looking at rumors, even if they are from, like, new people. However, Nimpagos is an account that was made just to make this post. This is not someone who has any prior track record. They're saying that their source was right about the Indie World and the Partner Showcase and the OLED years ago and Mario & Luigi Brothership, but we have no reason to believe that. I mean, this is no different than someone literally making a post on Reddit or on Twitter or on 4chan, right? And sometimes those end up being true, right? Like, sometimes that does end up being the case. And, you know, maybe when we look at some of the other things we're talking about in today's video, maybe this becomes a little bit more credible when we see other people kind of reporting and rumoring the same thing. But as it stands, like, okay, I guess, like, it's just one post from one guy. I just don't think we can really look into this that much. But I do want to start there with the announcing in January and releasing in March thing, as we will kind of talk about more throughout the video. But announcing it in January and releasing it in March is ideal, right? Like, that is ideal for us at this point. That is the best case scenario at this point, which is why I'm kind of hesitant to believe it. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a couple of years now, you know I've always said I think this console will release in March of 2025. Now, over the past couple of months, I've shifted that as we did not get a reveal when we expected in September and October. I think realistically, our best case scenario now is like an April or May launch. I see some people saying June. I don't think they would release a console in June. It just, I don't know, weird vibes with June as a month. I don't know if that would really happen. Even May feels a little bit on the edge of things. So for me, I'm predicting / hoping for an April release, which of course would mean a January reveal. Releasing it in March is you know, that's the dream scenario. However, given that we didn't get a reveal this year, I just feel like that's too soon. Now, I used to say, like, oh, they need more time to kind of prep and market this thing. And I've changed my tune on that, probably just because I'm, you know, coping, you know, and want this thing to release in the first half of 2025. But does January to March really make sense? You know, maybe if it's announced in December, that could work, I guess. But I don't think it'll be announced in December, as we'll get to. I also feel like when you look at March, it's like they already announced Xenoblade Chronicles X for that month. That doesn't necessarily mean the Switch 2 can't release then, right? Like, they could totally, let's say Xenoblade X is, I think it's March 20th, right? It's towards the end of March. They could release the Switch 2 at the beginning of March, but then you're even talking about a shorter window than what we have, where, you know, we're talking second week of January reveal probably. They don't do stuff in the first week. People are still coming back to office. So you have a second week of January reveal, best case scenario, and then you have an early March release. I'm all for this idea of there being a shorter marketing cycle now. I'm all on board with that. That is too fast, I feel like. You know, when I say I'm predicting April, May, I'm talking like end of April. I could see this thing releasing if it's announced in early January. But I mean, if we're talking early March, that's 2 months. And, you know, February is a shorter month than other months. So, like, I just feel like January to early March is way too short of a time frame. But I mean, Nintendo likes to surprise us. Maybe that'll be the case. And then this whole Pokemon Home thing, would they really change the the host of the app, like the character kind of introducing you to Pokemon Home. I don't think that would change, would it? It would still be Grand Oak in the Switch 2 version, because it's not going to be a different version, because it's just going to be Pokemon Home as it is on every platform, right? I don't know. I just feel like that whole extra piece here, it's like they added that whole Pokemon Home thing to make the whole rumor kind of feel more valid, but to me, it kind of bogs it down a little bit. Pokemon Black and White remix, I do think will probably happen in the future, but this whole thing just feels weird. It's a new account with no history, with no track record. I don't believe this particular post. We also have a press release for a new indie game called Ruffy and the Riverside. I've never heard of this, and a lot of people were talking about this because we have Stephen George here on Twitter saying, just got an email about an upcoming game that includes this line: rolling out Q1 2025 on PC, Steam, Xbox One and Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch is. So Nintendo Switch is plural. That Switch 2 is right around the corner, man. Very curious when Nintendo will tell us about it. So a lot of people are talking about this, using this as a confirmation bias for there being a Switch 2 release in Q1, so, March, right? Unless it comes out in February somehow, but I think out of those options, March probably makes the most sense. This is the most random indie game I've ever seen in my life. No one's ever heard of this game. Now, I'm not trying to throw shade on the developers, but no one knows what Ruffy and the Riverside is. And I promise you, maybe the developers of Ruffy and the Riverside, maybe they have a Switch 2 dev kit, right? Maybe they do. There's no shot in reality that they know when the Switch 2 is releasing. When they say it's coming to Switches, they're probably first up trying to drum up interest in the games, like Yooka-Laylee did, like Playtonic did with Yuka Replayly, right? Where they said that game's coming to Nintendo, and everybody started talking about it. They're probably trying to get people like us, like the Nintendo Switch 2 speculation community, talking about their game. But also, it's not a lie, right? If it releases in Q1 in March in 2025 for the current Switch, it's still going to come to Switch 2 because it is going to be on Switch 2 because the Switch 2 is backwards compatible. I've seen a lot of people talking about this dang little Ruffy and the Riverside game, and once again, no shade to the developers, but they would not know when the console is releasing. I promise you they wouldn't. We also have another rumor here coming from, I believe, Nintendo Prime of all people, saying a Nintendo Switch 2 releasing March 2025, but rumor claims, reading from Insider Gaming here, they say the Nintendo Switch 2 will release in March 2025. That's according to the latest rumors published by popular Nintendo news channel Nintendo Prime. According to the latest rumors, which the channel found on Chinese forum Weibo and the Family Boards gaming forum, Nintendo will officially reveal its next system in January, followed by a March launch. Now, this Family Boards link right here literally just takes us to the Nimpagos post we already covered, but this Weibo Chinese forum post, actually, looking at it now, I think this does, in theory, add a little bit of validity to the entire thing. Let's go and translate this. But here's the thing, right? This is still just a post. It's like, when you see a post in Chinese, does it become more valid because it's in Chinese? We always see these factory leaks from China and all that, and sometimes they're real, sometimes they're not. But, just because this post was made and it's in Chinese, does that give it more credibility? I don't really think so, but either way, they say here, officially announced in January, released in March. The first month's shipments in various regions have been confirmed. About 650,000. Nintendo Switch was, 2.74 million? Is that what that would be? And yeah, the little decimal there. The production scale of some parts has reached hundreds of thousands since September, and there is news that the Tegra 239 chip has started to ship in large quantities recently. So this is the rumor there, and once again, I mean, listen, I am all for a January announcement. I really hope that is the case. I know some people think it'll be announced, at the last minute, March 31st, like Furukawa kind of maybe is leading us to believe at this point that, it's going to be the last possible second. But I just feel like January to March is too fast, man. That just feels too fast to me. I think January to April could work, especially since we're hearing rumors of a February Nintendo Direct to focus on Switch 1 games. If you have a January Switch 2 reveal, in January, obviously, you have the February Switch 1 focus, a mini Direct, partner showcase, full Direct, whatever it is, you have that in February, and then March you have Xenoblade X release, maybe another Switch 2 kind of styled presentation, maybe an indie world for Switch 2, that kind of thing. And then in April, you have the release. I think that lineup makes way more sense at this point than releasing it in March, because March already has Xenoblade, and it's just an even shorter, reveal to release that I just don't know if that would necessarily work. Now, granted, we are in a completely different era now, right? We are in a completely different territory when it comes to revealing hardware and releasing games and that kind of thing, right? It's not 2017 anymore. It's not 2012. You can get your product out to the masses, and people will know about it way quicker now than ever before in the past, right? TikTok's a thing now, YouTube Reels and YouTube as a whole, right? Information travels so much faster now than it did even when the Switch released. So maybe January to March could work. I just don't know if we have any evidence to support that necessarily from a first-hand experience, right? I don't think we've really seen any other console manufacturer do that to the point where I'm ready to put my poker chips on that camp. I think January to April is our current, like, that's my current realistic, hopeful scenario, right? I know a lot of people would say April release is not realistic anymore, and that's totally fair. But for me, January to March just feels, it's just comically soon, right? But maybe. I really hope I'm wrong about this. I really hope I'm wrong and we do see this thing release in March. But we do have a couple other things I wanted to talk about today. Not necessarily rumors, but specifically, I've seen a lot of people talking about the potential of a December announcement. And I think mostly when people are talking about that, they're talking about, will this thing be announced at the Game Awards, Jeff Keighley's The Game Awards. And you know, the arguments being made is like, well, the Game Awards has 250 million people watching it every year. Like, why wouldn't Nintendo want to get their product on that stage and announce it there? The reason they wouldn't want to do that is because they want to control the messaging the best they can, right? They want to have it be a sterile Nintendo Direct with no issues, right? You know, you look back to the Switch reveal in 2017, and while all of us look back at that presentation as like a god-tier presentation because they announced Mario Odyssey, we got a release date for Breath of the Wild, Xenoblade X was announced there, Fire Emblem Warriors, Splatoon 2, ARMS, like, for Nintendo fans, it was a fantastic event. But actually watching the events, it was kind of a mess, right? Like, all the on-stage presenters, it was a total mess in that regard. And then you look at what happens in the Game Awards the past couple of years, and at Gamescom opening night live at the Game Awards, 2 years ago, you had the Bill Clinton kid run up on stage. Do you think there's any chance Nintendo wants to take that risk and announce their console on a stage that might have that happen again? I think people are a little eager to say Nintendo doesn't want anything to do with the Game Awards anymore. I don't think that's true. We've seen them announce games all the time there, usually from Platinum and from Square Enix, as well as, like, you know, Marvel Ultimate Alliance was there. So I do think there's potential for a Nintendo game to be there. Maybe it's Prime 4. I might do a separate video on that in the coming days. But to announce their next generation console, where, you know, they want the marketing and the messaging for that thing to be spot on, exactly what they want, you know, no mistakes. To think that it would be announced at the Game Awards just doesn't feel right to me, especially when you consider the Game Awards is going to have a ton of games announced that will not come to the Nintendo Switch too, right? Like, you're going to see a lot of high-fidelity PS5, Series X games. You're going to see games that, frankly, might not even come out until the PS6 releases. Like, I feel like at Game Awards, there's always games getting announced that don't even have platforms announced because they're so far off. They're like proof of concepts. So you'd be announcing your console alongside a bunch of other games that are not going to come to your console. That just feels like a bad choice. Even though the stage is there and the audience is there, right? Like, more people watch Game Awards than a Nintendo Direct. It doesn't matter when Nintendo announces the Switch 2, right? Because they're going to announce it and it's going to blow up on Twitter and it's going to take over the internet for an entire, 48-hour period. Everybody who is interested in video games will watch that trailer whenever they decide to drop it. So I think announcing at the Game Awards is just foolish to even think would happen. I do think, like I said, I do think there could be a game there, like Prime 4 or something, but the Switch 2 itself, I don't think so. And as for a earlier reveal in December, I mean, maybe. But I just feel like if we were going to see this thing this year, I gave up, right? Like, I gave up on the Switch 2 being seen this year. After that investor meeting happened earlier in the month, I have been, kind of just quietly waiting now. Like, I understand people are excited and they want to see it, but I think we all just kind of need to wait until January. Once we get to January, we can really, really start diving into it and hoping and expecting a reveal, I think. But as for now, I think we just need to enjoy the holidays, people. I think we need to play our games, and then we will come back to the whole Switch 2 speculation side of things in early January, because a December reveal, would they really announce it right after Black Friday? I'm not saying they're not going to announce it because of holiday sales. I mean, Furukawa himself said they would announce it even if it means hurting the Switch's sales, but are they going to announce it the week before Christmas, a couple weeks before Christmas? I just don't think so, right? Like, I think January is the earliest we can expect to see this thing at this point, but even then it might extend to late March. Maybe they wait until Xenoblade X is out to announce this thing. It all depends on when it releases. I do think it's releasing in the first half of next year. I think the way Nintendo was acting these past couple of months, especially with the partner showcase and Indie World in August, between there being no major news in September, between October being filled with Alarmo and this playtest and all this other random stuff, Xenoblade X being announced on Twitter, something's going on, right? Like, they are clearly gearing up for a reveal, in my opinion. It's just a matter of when we see it. And I do think that will be in January, and I do think it will release in April or May. Maybe I'll end up being wrong about that. Maybe it is a September release, like a lot of people think. Maybe it'll be November. Maybe it'll even be 2026. But as it stands right now, from where I'm sitting, before we get any more major, more substantial rumors, I think April is our realistic best case scenario for the release of this console. But I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Where are you guys sitting when it comes to the Switch 2 reveal and release? Do you think it'll be announced in December, like a lot of people seem to be thinking? Do you think it'll be January, February, March? When do you think it's getting announced, and when do you think it is releasing? Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch news, reviews, speculation, all that fun stuff. Follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames. Check out my Nintendo collecting channel over at It's Amiibo. And until next time, folks, peace.